All right, it's finally happened. The Mets have called up number 5 prospect Brendan Sproat in the middle of a playoff push as well. He's the third youngster that they've brought in to try and help fix this pitching rotation. Let's talk some Mets baseball and, of course, sport with Tyler Ward, your favorite Mets content creator. Wardy, I'm not trying to give you a big bobblehead or anything, but you called it when you were in studio. You called McLean, you called Tong, and now you've called Sproat. I guess just go ahead and tell the people, one, what Sproat's going to bring to this rotation, and two, talk about your greatness, man.
Well, I'll start with the latter. You're making me blush already. Thank you so much for that. I'm just happy that the things that we've been calling out and lauding for as Mets fans, I feel like I try to do my best to represent a good contingent of fans, and we've all been dying to see these kids get the call, right? McLean, we talked about this north of 2 months ago. Sproat, we talked about this a week and a half ago in studio. Jonathan, we did. 48 hours later, Jonathan gets the call. Well, a week or so later, now Brandon Sproat gets the call. And I think in the case of Brandon Sproat, why Mets fans should be excited is that no stone is going unturned by David Stearns and this Mets team. They're finally realizing that we might just have our best pitching options with guys that haven't even toed the rubber much yet for us at the major league level. Like, there is now a reality that we could see a McLean, a Ton, and a Sproat all toe the rubber potentially postseason play. Because as Carlos Mendoza has stated himself, it's going to come down to the best options, not necessarily the guys that have the track record to say, oh, they should be here. And what the Mets are getting in Brandon Sproat is a flame-throwing young right-hander who turns 25 just around a week or so from us talking right now. So this is a nice little early birthday present for Sproat, who skyrocketed in the farm last year for the Mets. Started in single A, got all the way to triple A. And there was even conversations last fall to suggest, should the Mets call up Brandon Sproat as a reliever because he's got electric stuff and he might as well utilize that arm. They decided not to. We fast forward to 2025. Has some early struggles there as he's getting acclimated to the triple A level. But if we go back over his past 10 starts, he has a 1.74 ERA. And what he's done so brilliantly is not only a fastball that touches 99 or 102 on the gun, but he's had such a greater approach against left-handed batters in particular. No more are we seeing Brandon Sproat go heavy sinker, sweeper against these lefties, which have really served up batting practice. He has since thrown in more changeups, more curveballs, and he's gotten a lot more variation in his output because of that reason. We're seeing the moxie on the mound with a guy like Sproat. He's showing the confidence. He's not held back the way he looked in the first half like a kid who really didn't necessarily know what he was going to do every time on the towing the rubber. Since Francisco Alvarez, who will be returning to this Mets team soon, was getting some starts there, catching Sproat going back to July when he had his minor league assignment, we have seen a change in Sproat's game, his confidence, and now he's all set to impact the Mets, hopefully for the better now, this Sunday at the major league level.
I love the confidence he has and these kids have in themselves. I love the confidence that you have in these guys. But we're talking about the show here. And this is September. We're getting closer and closer to October when things really matter. It's like when baseball really matters. A soon-to-be 25-year-old, a 24-year-old, and a 22-year-old in October baseball, are they ready for the real show?
That's a great question. And I think so far, yes, right? Noah McLean is the first starter since Chase Anderson in 2014 to begin his major league career 4-0 in the win-loss record. Kind of a big deal. Then you look at Jonathan. He looks brilliant in his first start for the Mets over this past calendar week. So while there's a lot of uncertainty, the same thing can be said with this entire Mets rotation in Kodai Senga, who looks like he's going to either get sent down to the minor leagues, maybe get shifted to the bullpen, or maybe a Phantom IL stint. I'm not exactly sure what's going to happen there yet. We await to find out. You look at Clay Holmes, a 5-and-dive starter, can't provide you length. Sean Manaea looks like he should have surgery already with that loose body in his elbow. Anything and everything has went wrong for these veterans, the strongholds in this Mets rotation. And because of that reason, they have nothing to lose at this point. That's why calling up Brandon Sproat, even if he does unfortunately maybe look more like batting practice in Cincy this Sunday, at least are getting a taste as to what you would be getting with him at the major league level. So that way you know. Because the Mets have uncertainty right now, and those uncertainties have been paving the way for their great success that we have seen over this past calendar month between McLean, Ton, and now hopefully Mr. Sproat.
Carlos Mendoza has talked about being creative with the rotation. He's talked about a 6-man rotation. Now that you've got these three officially up here, what would you do if you're Mendoza to that rotation, that starting rotation?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different routes you can go down here, right? But especially given the off days that the Mets have upcoming, as well as their current configuration, they can still continue their six-man rotation should they wish and make sure everyone gets that extra days of rest, even if Kodai Senga isn't immediately in the scene in the rotation anymore. Or if they do say, I don't know, send down Kodai Senga like they've been suggesting the past 48 hours, then they can go back to a five-man rotation if they really want to throw out their best options out there. And it may appear to actually go down that route, barring changes, but as Mendy has stated himself over the past week and a half, 2 weeks, they're going about this on a start-by-start basis. So what we're seeing right now with David Peterson towing game 1 this Friday, Jonathan game 2, Sproat game 3, this is ever changing depending on their results and how the Mets look beyond the weekend. So I don't think that they have anything truly formalized as to how they're going to go about the rotation beyond this weekend's end. But that's okay, because it's one of those things where if you're going to go by a start-by-start basis, just see what you get. If you get the results you're happy with, awesome. If not, then you have your discussion with David Stearns again, and you move on from there to figure out what you're going to do with the rotation moving forward.
Man, I'm going to change your name from Tyler Ward to Wardy Stearns. You called it, my friend. You called it. Thanks for hopping on with us, man, in such short notice.
Thank you so much, Brandon. Always a pleasure.